You know the word sophistry? They were called sophists because they made sophisticated arguments. They were designed to sound smart, but all they were was covering up rejection of truth.
You can address what I'm saying without just saying that I'm essentially trying to sound smart.
Well, but you haven't made any arguments. You just posited things. You are a sophist. And the quicker you learn that,
personal. Logos, pathos, ethos.
It's not.
I think you're making an attack on character.
Not my belief that you are a sophist is rooted in everything you've said. The only one who said anything scientific in this whole discussion is me.
So, I don't think that's true.
You're basically falling into this trap, speaking to you plainly, falling into this trap where you believe that saying something is an argument. My argument is it's irrational to say there is no God.
Well, that's different from being atheist.
I think you make a practice of saying many words and pretending to be intelligent and reasonable.
Character, not my argument.
No, I'm telling you what I think after assessing you.
I don't think
because it doesn't matter
to actually have logical discussion.
Oh, I do.
I think
all these people that walk by and they're like, "Thanks, I watched your channel," which you'll be on that channel as well.
Absolutely.
So
I hope you post the full thing.
You want me to post a full thing?
I do.
Yeah, we'll drive everybody crazy.
And so, if you're into discussions about the Big Bang, philosophy, theism, and exposing sophistry, enjoy this 2-hour-long, uncut video of just that, warts and all.
But before we get into it, if you have any questions that you would like to ask Russell, he'll be joining the Students for Abolition chapter at Oklahoma State University for a Q&A on Tuesday, April 28th at 5:30 p.m. in the classroom building, room 223. We'd love to see you there.
Like, I think it would be wrong to kill something that was like an android that had functions of a human.
Okay, because you're hurting somebody's property, or?
No, I don't believe they should be property if they have like free will.
Oh, you think they have free will? Well, I don't know if we're ever going to make something that has free will, but we'll make stuff that seems like it has free will probably by the end of the year.
Well, like, not necessarily like just seems like it has free will, like current AI. Like something with like cognitive ability.
Yeah. You value cognition, and you devalue the lack of it. Because like if you study like newborns, like newborn babies, like they like phase in and out of like sentience.
Sentience?
Yeah. It's like a weird thing where it's like they're like newborns, like they're sort of like things like the knowledge that you're an individual and someone else is an individual and that you're different and you're distinct and like that there's a world and that you're in it and all that kind of stuff. That develops later. Like you just don't have that. That's like
as a newborn?
Yeah, no, it's like they'll like if you look it up on your phone and say like, because a lot of times people say like they say they claim they believe in human rights, but they don't. They say that because like it's unpopular. Like you basically have told me without saying it, you don't believe in human rights. You believe in brain rights.
I believe in human rights. I believe that these aren't human rights for very specific reasons. Does that make sense?
Well, it's definitely a human.
It's
So a human before they have a brain, they're a human being that's in the process of developing a brain.
Sure.
Just like, so like, that's what human beings in biological development, like you're not fully developed until like your mid-30s, right? Haven't even undergone all the cell division that you're gonna undergo until like puberty, right? So like development happens over time and the human being goes through development.
Yeah.
But you never become a human. The moment you exist, when you're conceived, right? When you begin, you're a human being, and the human being grows and develops over time. And we do become more and more cognitive, if you want to say it that way, but we become much more functional, I guess.
Sure.
But some people are less functional than others. So if you take your worldview, maybe those can be killed.
No.
The less functional.
The worldview is based on cognitive ability But
Yeah.
I hear like a common counter argument. It's like, well, what if you go into a coma?
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have that like cognitive ability. But
Yeah.
the faculties to have cognitive ability are already developed. And that
Yeah.
playing it safe is not killing a baby that has the faculties developed.
Well, their faculties are on their way to developing,
Yeah.
and they won't if you murder them.
Yeah, but that's also
So,
like saying,
in one sense, you're saying this person has had something, and because they've had something, I can't deprive them. This person has not yet had something, so I can deprive them. It's just a form of oppression
Well, no,
on
it's not
weaker people. Oh, it certainly
an
is. It's
example-
oppression.
An example would be if you simply didn't have kids. You're technically depriving them of developing the same faculties.
No, they don't exist.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
Yes.
So a human embryo exists.
Okay, but they don't have the faculties yet.
Yeah, and they won't have all of their faculties will continue to grow and develop over time. So I'm saying like the reason that your view is a common view held by different oppressors over time is once you shift the value of human beings from simply being human to being possessing some attribute, then all you have to do to that group of humans is say they're less than other humans. So common things that have gone on, like since we're in America, right?
Right.
So in the United States of America, because you had people that wanted to have forced labor, slavery and stuff, people like looking at them and like, man, this just seems harsh. They could make an argument, well, it's justified because they actually are not as cognitively developed as like the Europeans. That's what they would say.
They would say that, but it wouldn't be true.
Right, exactly. But it's that worldview
But that worldview
to
is
justify.
false.
No,
This is true.
but it's your worldview.
Okay, hold on. So
They're saying if you have less brain power, you can be oppressed. That's what they were saying.
but I have equal brain power, equal cognitive ability
To who?
to anybody else.
Okay. That's not true.
Okay, so
Some people out there are smarter than other people.
sure.
It doesn't have anything to do with the color of skin.
I have the same brain faculties. I
Yeah.
have the same parts of the brain
Yep.
as you. And
Because you were
I
allowed to
have-
develop them.
yep. And I have therefore at least a very similar, if not equal ability.
Right. Well, I'd say
So,
like even if
for example, the example you use.
say you had more of ability than me,
You
we
use
would share
the example of
humanity.
Black people.
Uh-huh.
The black people have a similar, if not the same,
Right?
cognitive ability
Yes.
to go to college to become electrical engineers.
Clearly. Yes.
So they
Great
said-
argument.
So they said that you don't have the same cognitive ability, and it was a lie. It wasn't true. It was based in pseudoscience.
Right?
And I say that a fetus at a certain point in development does not have a brain,
Right.
so it doesn't have the same
Right.
cognitive ability, and it's not a lie. So
Yeah.
that's not the same.
And nothing you just said was false.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that the idea of judging, like deciding whether or not a human being can be killed based on the possession of an attribute is the view that oppressors use to justify what they're doing. In this case, you're saying that a human being who is on their way to developing a brain, now it's not going to be anything like your brain until much, much later. But the slope there is they're developing something. I'm saying that idea is like the main, if not the main, one of the main things that people have always used to justify their oppression. And the thing that's always been used to fight oppression is just to say, listen, I'm not going to get into a debate about who has this or who has that. I'm just going to say human beings should not be murdered. And then you say, well, what's a human being? You say, well, let's define a human being. It's like a member of the human species. The human beings have the genetics of humans. They don't have the genetics of dogs or whatever like that. So anything in the human kind is to be protected. Doesn't matter how smart they are, how old they are, how big they are, what color they are, what country they're from. None of that matters. All those attributes and all of the sort of non-essentials, because you will find some human beings like don't develop as much. Well, if you have, and I'm not saying as a group, but just an individual human, like a human being with Down syndrome, they have a ceiling that a human being without Down syndrome does not have. Okay, well, what if someone says, well, given that I've already taken the value away, you don't have value because you're human, you have value because of the possession of a brain. It's not a hard thing to be like, okay, but maybe since value is rooted in the brain, it can be like more brains, greater value, less brains, less value. So, and that's what our society does.
So
the younger you are, the less valuable. The older you are, the less valuable, because cognitive function declines.
is that what you believe I'm saying, or are you saying that's a potential downside to people viewing it like that?
Yeah, I'm saying that in history and in practice today, the sure way to fight oppression is to root it into something real and solid. Humanness. Like when I say like ontology, like the being of human is what your value is rooted in. Like you're valuable not because of how smart you are or can become. Your value is in that you are a human being. You're made in the image of God. God made you, loves you, died for you. All that's your value comes from like outside of you, that's imposed on you because of what you are, not on what you can do, like your function in culture, your ability to actualize, anything like that.
So, okay, do we believe, this is a question that has relevance, I promise.
Yeah, no, you're
So,
good,
like,
man.
If,
I can tell you're an intellectual, and like you can say whatever you want to say.
if a dog or an alligator
Yeah.
somehow, maybe they had like a drug, a miracle.
Somehow they became as if they were human.
With the intelligence of a human.
Yeah.
They would have like, they'd have certain abilities.
We'd want to. The natural thing, so if what you're suggesting, the natural thing would be to kind of say, hey, they're not human in the humankind, but they are like humans in that they seem to have what we have, like a rational soul or whatever you want to define it as.
Sure.
And the interesting thing about that is oddly enough, we only see it in humans, which is also connected to what a human is. So a human is like an animal in that we're a biological organism. We're a created thing. We're not self-created. We're a made animal type thing, but we're unlike animals in that we have these conversations among many other things. And so the thing that you're saying is, well, what if we made like an alligator into a human? Well, if you made them into a human, then
I'm talking about like mental.
Yeah, like a human, unlike all
sapiens.
other animals.
Sapiens. So if like an alligator developed sapience, would
Sapience? What's that?
So like you have sentience, and it's like a dog is like sentient. It's like a being that.
Yeah.
It's two different measures of like cognitive ability, and sapience is where you get to be almost like human-like in that.
Okay.
You start being able to like intellectualize certain things. You might.
So what has sapience?
Do what?
What has sapience?
Humans.
Does anything else have sapience?
No. Not currently.
Yeah.
So if you were to take like a dog or a cow, for example, and give the cow sapience, it could like think and speak and it could worship.
Yeah, make him as if a human, though not biologically human. Yeah, I'm following you.
I believe that cow would have the same rights, would have the same...
Maybe.
I believe it should,
Yeah,
the
maybe you
same
should.
rights.
Yeah, I follow your argument.
So in that way, I believe that the cognitive ability is very important in considering what should be afforded those rights.
Yeah, which I'm following you. One, we don't have that, so we kind of, it's theoretical. But, so if saying theoretically, yeah, it'd be like if aliens came down and they're like, oh, our planet has died and we need a place to live and whatever, you know, we'd be like, well, they seem rational, they got like wisdom, they have this desire, et cetera, et cetera. Let's, hey, love your hat.
Thank you.
Except for it's supposed to be a red O and a U.
You're an OU fan?
Man, born and bred, right? But like, so I get what you're saying. I'm saying, when I say like, well, we don't have to worry about that because we haven't run into it yet. I'm sure if we run into it, we'll have to deal with it. But please understand what I'm saying is that when you, like, say you have oppression of human beings, a particular, like, say, group of humans or humans at a certain level, and you're wanting to oppress them, and people rise up to fight for them. If you fight and you root your value in something beyond their being human, all it takes is somebody who's got the bigger stick or who's in power to shift the criteria of value. Thanks, brother. They shift the criteria of what makes someone valuable and in need of protection from simply being human to being something else. And that's the slippery slope. And that has always been used. Now, yours is not as dangerous at first. First thought, you think, oh, this isn't very dangerous, right? Because look, you can't dehumanize and destroy the Jews because look, they have brain function. You can't dehumanize the African slaves because look, they have brain function. You can't dehumanize, you know, this or that people group because they have brain function. And you're like, see, this isn't so bad. Oh, but it is bad if you've dehumanized and destroyed 75 million image bearers of God that are human beings in the womb, which is what your view does.
I don't necessarily believe in, like, God. I'm not necessarily, I'm more agnostic.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I'm saying, but your view says this is okay.
If it's a matter of, like, difference in, like, religion, is that...
Your religious views do have a bearing on all this, of course, but your view, as stated, that value it should be conferred and protection could be conferred simply on the basis of brain function. That allows this to happen.
Yeah.
And so you can't stand against this oppression. Where religion comes into it is like say I didn't believe there was, you know, a creator. I didn't believe that Christ died for sins, all that stuff. Say I'd rejected religion. Clearly, I'd probably have your view, and I wouldn't be able to stand up against this and wouldn't care because, they don't have brains anyway.
Well, yeah.
So the question is your view true or is our view true?
That's
and so you shift to that.
Like, or like,
yeah,
Christianity.
Yeah, the basic question fundamental to this and pretty much everything is, what do you believe about God? What do you believe about Christ and what he claimed? And so it does come down to that.
I'll be real with you. When I've had this talk with other people, typically they'd avoid that entire, like, okay, so like...
Yeah, they'll like, leave it alone.
Well, yeah, because they'll be like, okay.
They're pro-lifers. I'm an abolitionist.
Well, no, they're abolitionists too. So like, they will essentially say that the NIH definition of life includes like an egg that's just been fertilized. So like right after fertilization, conception.
Yeah. No scientist seriously doubts that life begins at conception.
Sure, but then I'd like
human life.
There's like other like branches of like the branch of argument.
It's a branch, and it's a religious or philosophical argument says, okay, even given that life, clearly a human being's life begins at conception, that's what the word means, that's when it's conceived, but I'm going to say I don't really care what science says about when humans begin. I'm going to shift the value of humans to brain function. That's a philosophical judgment. That's a value judgment.
It makes sense. Like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I believe that the people who say that legitimately have your view, but they'd like to frame it in a more scientific way to be more appealing to, like, people who
Yeah.
feel more appeal from science. Like, you know,
Yeah.
people maybe who are atheist or agnostic or whatever.
Yes.
And
They're
I actually believe that they have your view and they actually put the value in
I agree
the
with
value
you.
of the soul.
Yep.
I think
I agree with you.
So
They're trying to
when I
be
say to
PC or something. They're trying to, but as we found though, it does get to that. So if the fundamental issue, and this is where it got in the days of slavery. I bring up slavery because I'm a historian, 19th century guy. So I know a lot about the abolitionists of slavery, why they did what they did, why they believed what they believed, and why they gave their lives to it. They believed that man was made in the image of God. They believed that because man was made in the image of God, it didn't matter what everyone said about justifying, their oppression. It was their full-on beliefs about God and not only what he thought about what you were doing to the slaves, but he thought, like, he cared about the slaves, but he also cared about the people who were oppressing the slaves. And he doesn't want people to be evil towards other people. That's not why he made us. And so the judgment of God is, if he's real, and those people, you're dead right, and I'm glad you see it, they truly believe as I believe, but they choose to take that off of the table because they think it'll be more persuasive if I leave religion out of it. But fundamentally, that is the question.
to me, it doesn't come across as more persuasive. I do get what you mean. Like, they definitely believe it would.
Yeah.
To me, it comes across as almost like
Disingenuine?
Yeah, because it's like, but to me, I don't necessarily believe in God. So personally, I don't.
So where did everything come from then?
I think humans just fundamentally can't know and don't know.
Well,
I think they may be able to maybe
Yeah.
into the future. At least for now, I don't believe anybody.
Yeah.
And even in the Christian worldview, I think that that's kind of accepted, that you must have faith that there's a God.
to a certain degree, I'd say so one of the propositions that I find, it makes rational sense and all that kind of stuff, but you could say I have faith in. So I believe not only leaving Christianity out of it for a second, right? Something like the question of design, or the question of why there's something rather than nothing. You have to have a cause. You can't have something without nothing, right? And then why is that something what it is? I do find in a rational, philosophical sense, along with all sorts of non-Christian and Christian philosophers, that positing a mind behind nature, high five, positing a mind behind nature is more rational than saying there is no mind behind nature. But if you say I don't think it takes any faith to believe that, my cell phone has a maker, that tree has a maker. The tree's more complex, but, speaking. But I think that doesn't take so much faith to believe in a cause, a first cause. But where the faith comes in is, I do believe that while God makes the most sense of reality, that God has entered into reality in various ways. I think that he has given us his word, and he has spoken to us. And what he has said to us, he has ensured that we have that knowledge. So through different people over, thousands of years, he has revealed himself to us, because he doesn't want us just wandering around down here blind. He did make it, the purpose that we see and the conscious knowledge of right and wrong and all that kind of stuff that's imprinted on us does have an author and a purpose. And then not only did he communicate and talk about himself to us, I do believe he stepped down into reality, came among us, claimed to be God, literally said, you've got a sin problem, you're stuck in your sin, I'm holy, your souls are going to live forever. when you die, your unholiness is going to have us separated, and I want to make a way to make us not separated. And so Christ comes, says who he is, proves that he is who he is, and then does die for sins. So that component of faith, in that is something that happened thousands of years ago, but it was spoken of, written down, and I have to read about it, study it, and there is the reality that I literally think, and this isn't to like, say this is what all Christians believe, but I think it is God who reveals himself to people. Like that people are just going about their business and God speaks to them in very clear ways internally in their conscience, in their minds, but in also ways like having somebody say stuff, books read, and that God is actively doing this. And then what we are doing actively in response to that is either, it's like we're in darkness and he's light, and we either, when the light comes into the room, run off into the corners because we're like, no, I don't like this because I'm doing stuff that I think God wouldn't approve of. I kind of already internally know that. So whenever God starts revealing himself to us, if we love our sin and we want to dwell in darkness, we run. Or we repent and we turn to the light. And I do think that's where faith comes in, because I do think that when God is calling a person, making himself known to a person, they either, for whatever, mystery of mysteries, they either bow up and they say, to hell with you, I want nothing to do with you. I'm God. I'm going to pretend you don't exist and pretend that I'm not experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. And it could just be in your mind, right? Or they yield. And that is, I think, what's happening in everybody's life in various kinds of ways. But that's faith, that's religion, our theology. So much else is accessible to us, and we can, argue it out. So the pro-life person, the reason I say I'm an abolitionist, not a pro-lifer, the pro-life people you've talked to, that you've debated about this, they kind of are like, listen, I don't need to bring God into it. In one sense, they're right. If it's a question of when does human life begin, you don't really need to bring God into it. You can prove that human life begins when it begins. It's an observable scientific fact. Whether a human being has value, well, you could make all sorts of social contract arguments and say if human beings don't have value, then everything falls apart. So therefore, you can make those arguments. But where we got from the beginning, because you have already thought deeply about this, that period of pre-brain function, that's pre-utility, pre-personality, that's a theological, like what you believe about God and reality does matter. Because you don't believe that a human being as a human being is made in the image of God and therefore should be protected, which has you okay with this. So they shouldn't. I'm not rebuking you. The pro-lifer who leaves theology out of it has undermined their ability to reach you on this. I don't know if that makes total sense.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Also, I beef
with them all the time.
I see. Well, they still, like, the people that I would, like, maybe, like, talk to about it, they would still consider themselves, like, a lot of them would still consider themselves, like, abolitionists. Like Adam, I don't know.
Adam.
He's pretty active here on campus as well. Like, he'll stand and he'll have, like, signs and stuff.
Okay. I don't know him. I know, like, this guy here.
Yeah, I've talked to him before.
Carson. Yeah, so the abolition, so I don't know, so the pro-lifer does believe in God, usually is a Christian, does in the end think, yes, abortion should be abolished as murder, but the reason there's a division between pro-lifers and abolitionists, politically and culturally, is because like here in Oklahoma, when we put forward a bill to abolish abortion as murder, we're like, we're gonna abolish abortion as murder. We're like, why? Because our laws allow people to murder. That puts our state at enmity with God. We're under the judgment of God because we have laws allowing murder, and our neighbors. So we love God, we love our neighbors, abolish abortion. That's what we believe. We're very upfront about it. The pro-lifers, like, I believe all that, but I don't want all that right now. I want the best that I can get. And so when we put forward bills to abolish abortion, they actually vote them down because they want to regulate abortion instead. But secretly, when push comes to shove, if they were like at Sunday school or something, they'd be like, yeah, abortion's murder. They just don't think it's very winsome or something to say it.
I see what you mean. I don't know exactly what they're like.
There's a sliding scale. Lots of different people are lots of different. I'm talking mainly about the leaders, like the big establishment leaders.
I personally am not Christian. I don't know. So if the idea is based around Christianity, I don't know if that's kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, the idea, so abolitionism, the reason abolitionism, not just abortion abolitionism, but slave trade abolitionism, slavery abolitionism, the reason it's always been rooted around Christianity is the people who follow Christ will be called to do that. So Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. And he says, love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. So if your culture is doing something to attack God, which an abortion is an attack on a human, but it's also an attack on God because they're made in the image of God and they're in the place of the incarnation. Like when Jesus came to earth, he didn't come down, like he didn't step down out of clouds and he's like, hello, I'm 33 years old and I'm a carpenter. No, he entered the womb of a young woman who wasn't planning to be with child. So the whole point is like this virgin birth, right? He's divinely conceived, develops in the womb, is born, grows up so that he can identify with all human beings. So that's another theological reason. Like Christ, you don't believe in Christ, but Christ had a point in time where he was a divine person,
Yeah.
but he was not a brain-possessing human.
So to a Christian, seeing that and being like,
Yeah.
Jesus were like to come back, then it would be ridiculous to say that, you know.
Yeah, if Jesus comes back, he's going to be,
I do understand,
mid-30s probably in appearance, right?
I do understand from like a Christian view how you could look at that and say they have a soul. So
Yeah.
I understand.
You don't even need like the idea of a soul. You just need, so like the prohibition, and it wasn't just for Christians, and I do believe this applies to non-Christians, like the thou shalt not murder. Like, so thou shalt not murder. Everyone kind of accepts that, right? You shouldn't murder. Why? Well, a Christian has an answer. Because man's made in the image of God. But why, to someone who doesn't believe that, why is murder wrong?
I mean, there's a couple. I guess there's different ways I can think about it. I mean, if you're like more or less like utilitarian. I mean,
But why is utilitarianism good?
utilitarianism, like well-being wise, why is it like good?
Yeah, why is it better? Why are things having utility better than things not having utility? Why does that matter? Why does anything matter?
I think usually they try and base it off of like well-being, but it is an arbitrary scale.
Yeah, yes.
So
Because no matter what you say, it's going to be just this never-ending why. You've got to have a reason that's grounding things. And outside of an actual reason, it's, arbitrary.
sure, but there is like you could say that some things are better than others. Hold up.
But why are some things better than others? You see what I'm saying? There's like
Yeah, but we might be able to agree that like
the need for a mind outside of nature to explain design is clear, but the reason for there to be like meaning outside of nature,
I don't necessarily
good and bad, like all of it, like without that, it is just all arbitrary. There really is, like if you dug yourself in, you said, I'm going to be ruthlessly consistent. It really is nihilism or Christianity. It's nothing actually matters. We just pretend it does, or everything does, but it's rooted in the maker who made it.
So I don't necessarily agree, though, that you would need an intelligent design. I don't believe that. And I guess, like, I could get, like, somebody making the case that nihilism would be the only, like, alternative to anything besides. But then I would have to ask, like, what? It doesn't seem to be much more productive to say that there would be an intelligent creator to give you a purpose, because then it's like, what would be the purpose of that as well? Like, I understand, like, you would have like you'd have a given purpose, but then what's that all for? You know what I mean?
The word purpose presupposes. That's what I'm saying. It's not just you need a designer for explaining, complex biological information or something like that. The word purpose is actually a nod to, that's like telos. Like, purpose is, what is a thing made for? What is its purpose? It always goes back to something that was given, like something that was, intended to be by a maker. So anything that you, like I can do it for everything. Your bag's purpose, that bag's purpose, that bag's purpose, your clothes' purpose. I can do it for everything.
Keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thank you. So, like, having purpose, everything has purpose. And we all know it. And it's just, we all understand it. And we all do it. That's why the inference to design for people. So everything out here has purpose, except for the most complex thing that sits around and talks about purpose.
Yes, but
that thing has a purpose too, and your purpose is to know and glorify God.
So like, you're saying, so how could everything around us have purpose, but we're the most complex thing here, and how could you say that we...
The one thing out here that cares about, sees, knows, and wants to understand purpose is the thing that we're like, oh, that doesn't have purpose.
Sure, I understand the argument, but I'm saying that we created these things.
Right.
So
that's why the inference is we must have a creator.
But
we see purpose everywhere.
But that's not necessarily, like, I don't necessarily believe that means that we necessarily would have a creator.
That's your religious belief.
Sure, but
your religious belief is that I'm going to choose that there isn't purposeful design towards us. That's what I'm saying. So whenever I say, it does fundamentally get down to, okay, so God has revealed himself. Everything we see tends to be that way, but because we don't like the idea of God, we try to kill God in our, should probably get off their walkway, huh? We try to eradicate the idea of God.
Sure.
So that we can, not follow his purposes.
I mean, so this almost seems like we're trying to, like, prove that God exists. I don't necessarily...
Well, I don't think you have to prove that God exists.
Yes, but...
I think if God doesn't exist, we wouldn't be having this conversation. No one would be having any conversations. There wouldn't be anything.
Okay. But the way the argument is framed, it seems like that's what's intended. Does that...
Yeah, so, I would go even further. Arguments. There are no arguments. There's no God, there's no mind, there's no purpose, there's no true, false, there's no good, there's no evil, there's nothing. It just is. We wouldn't know it, we wouldn't discuss it, we wouldn't talk about it. Our problem that we're in is all this stuff does exist. And if we don't like it, because say we want to be against God or outside of God's will, like we're doing stuff that we know because of cultural teachings in Christianity or any religion, that's a bad thing. We choose, I like to do the bad thing, therefore God doesn't exist.
So
and then we therefore kill all meaning.
I don't personally think that way. Like, I understand what you're saying from a Christian standpoint. It's like, okay, you're deciding to go against, like, a creator. I personally don't really believe in a creator. So to me, it's not like I'm just, like, deciding.
So, I know, but why don't you?
So, personally, because, I mean, I believe...
all the evidence is against what you believe.
The evidence, so, like, for example...
The mere fact of thinking about evidence
yes,
is against what you believe.
Okay. What evidence?
Yeah. You know what evidence is. I know what evidence is.
What evidence is against what I believe?
Yeah, so the mere proposition of thinking about whether something is true or false presupposes truth. Right? So, but you're saying, well, I don't believe in truth. Or I don't believe in...
Praise God for ministry.
Hey, thanks, man.
Dude, how are you already here?
My bad.
Dude, why is your ass always at every single one of these podcasts?
He's a philosopher.
It's my friend.
You've undermined philosophy, but I don't know if you've studied or thought about it long enough or deeply enough. I'm not trying to be insulting.
Well, just...
But
so
like, if you dug into it enough, I think the end of the road is Christianity or nihilism.
Sure.
Meaning or non-meaning. And I think that people are so into, now, not everybody's like you, but not everybody's like you in the same way. You're an individual, you're different, right? Everyone's different in different ways. Some people, the mere whiff of going down this road, they're like, oh, screw this, heck no. I just want to, eat, sleep, drink, die, have sex, play video games, whatever. So, like, I avoid all this stuff. I don't want to go there. And so they have a very base, I reject God because I want to live my life. You're doing it in a bit more of a philosophical way, but it's the same thing.
I guess what I'm asking is, why does it, like, directly, why does the evidence disprove what I'm saying, and how would that be productive? So having evidence disprove my viewpoint of, like, maybe atheism or agnosticism. Okay.
Yeah.
That, why is that the goal of how you're structuring your argument? Because if Christianity is based around faith, I don't understand in that capacity, and I also don't understand what
we kind of talked a little bit about it. We kind of talked a little bit about it, but like, okay, so the ground for reason, like, we know we're reasoning, right? We know that we make decisions all the time. We know that the world is complex design, all that kind of stuff.
Love that, huh?
Like, we know all this stuff. We have our reality, we live and walk in it. The question is what is the rational basis for what we see and what we feel and what we know? The options are that it has a purpose and reason and a maker versus it doesn't. If you go down the road it doesn't, I'm saying all of the evidence, including the idea that there would be evidence itself, the rational process of deciding something is true or false, everything is on the side against this. There is no being, there is no God, there is no truth, there is no, all of it is against that. So the whole project is a religion. Like, you are actually far more faith-driven than I am. What I told you about the faith stuff was I have faith, I have belief that the maker who makes sense of everything has revealed himself to us in his word, in his creation, and in personal experience. That's where faith is for me. But for understanding, like, the fundamental, like, laws of logic, and that they're rooted in a reality outside of nature and in a mind, I don't have any faith in that. I know that. If I don't have that, we can't even do what we're doing. Like, I take that as presuppositional. That's as clear to me as the existence of your mind and my mind are not the same mind. Like, it is just basic, proper, basic knowledge.
Please, I don't exactly understand what you're saying. I don't understand.
By saying you're a man of faith?
No.
Okay.
I don't understand how you're arguing that all the evidence
Yeah.
would point away from being atheist or would point towards being Christian.
Yeah. So you can go, maybe you go at it an opposite way. Atheism, right? There's no God.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no God. Why is there no God? Why do you think there's no God?
I mean, I guess I don't really have a belief.
Like, what is your
reason to
evidence
believe,
that there's no God? You have evidence there's no God.
So, I think that humans wouldn't necessarily be able to know, and I think it's kind of like structured like that. Does that?
So I'm saying your belief
That's
is
more
that there.
agnostic, but does
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so I think atheism is an untenable, unhold. The only way you can actually hold atheism is if you're God. Because you would have to have all knowledge to know there's no God. Because there could be a God who hides himself, for instance. I don't think that's the God that exists, but there could be a God who hides himself. To have knowledge that he doesn't exist, you would have to have all knowledge, even knowledge of hidden knowledge. So the only way to be an atheist is if you have God's knowledge. And then you're God, and then you're not an atheist.
The God of the Bible, I wouldn't necessarily say hides himself. I feel like that'd be more insulting.
Oh no, I don't think God hides himself.
Right,
I don't think
but
God's hiding himself
I
from
don't
you
think-
right now. I think
Okay.
I'm talking to you because God wants to reach you.
Okay, but I don't necessarily think that God exactly would like to just directly reveal himself. Does that?
Well, he does.
Certainly not, because
Yeah.
well, first of all, like
He says
You could
he
say-
says he revealed himself in prophet after prophet after prophet. He says he revealed himself in the things that are seen. He also says he's revealed himself in what you know in your moral compass.
so,
And then he says he revealed himself in sending his son.
so for example,
He's revealed
so
himself all the time.
an angel like could appear like right now and be like,
Yeah,
be not afraid. There's a God and he exists. And
sure.
You should probably worship him.
Yeah.
And you and I would both be like, all right, that's pretty revealing. But that
Probably
would be
not.
How could it
pretty.
be a man talking about this?
How are you a woman telling a man that he couldn't talk about it? That's it. Yes, I do. Yeah, I got 4.
Hey, look, also before I go any further,
Yeah.
I picked up from multiple people coming up.
Yeah, we have a TikTok channel.
I understand.
Yeah,
I gotta say that like my views are my own. That's
I know.
okay.
You're good.
But I have to say that,
You're
you know what I mean?
you're a particularly rational.
No. I gotta say that my views are my
are-
own, and I don't represent any other organization.
No. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I don't believe that. Sorry, where were we? We were at.
So what I'm really curious, not just to hear your answer, but for you to hear your answer and for you to think about your answer until the day you die. Just for the goodness of, you're my brother in that sense, right? We're both human beings trying to figure this out. Evidence, as I said, I think it probably is. It kind of probably goes over your head, not because you're not smart. It goes over your head because I'm not very good at explaining it. Like the idea of evidence itself presupposes this ability to work things out: true, false, good, bad. I am not being deceived. I'm not a brain in a vat. All this kind of stuff. So there's a whole lot of sort of like presuppositions that we just all take for granted. I'm saying that those basic things are part of the reality that you have to explain. That you've got everything in front of you, everything that's said to you, everything you know, all of this kind of stuff. And so then his question is like, okay, is there a God, and who is he? Has he revealed himself? That's the basic question. And I say, okay, someone says they're an atheist. I think we get to the point, if that person is honest, that is an untenable, irrational, self-defeating position. Because to truly know there is no God, you would have to have all knowledge. If you had all knowledge, because there could be a God, there could be God somewhere. He could be hidden. He could be, whatever.
Yes.
Like, to have knowledge that there is no God, you have to have all knowledge. And if you have all knowledge, you are God. And so atheism is a self-defeating, irrational view.
Well,
It's a pop culture view.
I don't think so necessarily. I think that
Agnosticism isn't.
so okay.
But atheism is saying there is no God.
To some degree,
You can't say that.
To some degree, it would be some sort of like bet. It would be some sort of like chance.
Yeah, it's a
But-
faith position.
Okay.
It's a religious
So,
position.
I were to say, this is not to be insulting to God. Okay.
We can't insult him. I mean, we can be sacrilegious, but we can't. We're not gonna hurt his feelings.
Sacrilegious or,
Yeah, we're not gonna hurt
this
his
is not
feelings.
to
Don't worry.
Okay.
You're fine.
The
No lightning bolts coming down today, I don't think.
So, for a moment, imagine somebody who comes up with their own cult-like God, and they say that this God is hidden, and he would like to stay hidden, and that if you don't believe in him,
Okay.
there will be consequences.
Yeah, somebody just invented this. Yeah.
So that would be a gamble, but I could give him a name, and
Yeah.
I did just come up with a God like that, but
But you know it's not true.
Also, yes, and
You wouldn't die for it.
You hearing about this from me, it doesn't have a lot of like backing, and you would be able to logically say, hey, that even though this could be a God, I don't think that's at all true. Like, it is some sort of bet,
Yeah.
because technically
If
that
I
God
believed
could
in
exist.
logic,
That logically could happen, but you know that I did just come up with this, and logically it could also be come up with. So I think atheists are essentially ones who would say that not necessarily that it must not exist, that it is like absolutely impossible, but it could be that they're also just saying that
they're making a bet.
yes, but not necessarily like
Yeah.
to them it feels more evidence driven. Does that,
Which
that
is,
make sense?
that's what I'm saying. They're the most mythical, irrational, religious people on the planet, in the face of everything that needs a grounding, not just what they see, but what they kind of know and what they presuppose, logic, reason, all that kind of stuff. Everything is on the side against them. But we live in a culture where we have this sort of like religious freedom, and in our like kind of religious freedom celebration, a lot of people don't like Christianity because they like to do what Christians call sin, right? They want to do sinful stuff. Now, because they want to do the sinful stuff, and they think, well, my parents or my culture or this church group or whatever have told me this is a sinful thing. I want to do this sinful thing, so screw it. I'm going to kill like the whole thing. And they just have this pop culture view of atheism. There is no God. I'm saying it's just that they're just being religious in the sense of they're making a faith choice. It's not rooted in evidence. It's not rooted in any kind of reason. It's dressed up in that. It's like there's truth. It's clear. It's written on their hearts, but they suppress it because they want to do
So
crappy things.
it may be so. It could be that they don't really look into it. I will say that, like
Most do not.
So right.
And the ones who do, they may be doing the same thing, but they're trying to be a little more sophisticated about it.
So it could be that a Christian might also not look into it. Does that kind of so? I don't necessarily think that it's like a bash towards like the atheists. Like it, you know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah, there's people on all sides that don't look into things. The difference is a random run-of-the-mill Christian who's very simply, say that in my view, they are actual Christians, which means they've had an encounter with God in the sense of they've read his word, they've heard his gospel, and they've believed it. Like that God himself, that truth that was spoken to them, when they heard it, they didn't reject it. For whatever reasons, like whatever mysterious reasons, whether, sorry man, yeah, I remember to hold these things. Yeah. They have the right view. It's not rooted in a rejection of all evidence. but it isn't rooted in an examination and thoughtful philosophical consideration of
could,
the
like
heightened
the-
depths of things. It's just
the-
like they're just a run-of-the-mill Christian. That person is being more rational and sane than the atheist guy who writes books trying to prove there's no God. That guy is a fool.
So I think that, like, being rational about it, the atheist person who would be writing books about this would be thinking about it, would be
Yeah.
looking at the information. A person who would just accept that, like, a God would exist without necessarily, like, looking into it.
But the
I don't
atheist
think
guy,
that
I'm telling you
that
just
would be
straight, he's
more
not.
rational.
I'm saying he's saying what he's doing is rational, but what he's doing is that he's at war with rationality. Rationality presupposes a mind outside of our minds. Like if you wiped out all human beings, would 2 + 2 still equal 4?
Well, yeah.
Okay, if you wiped out all human beings, would there still be the law of non-contradiction? A thing can't be a thing and not a thing at the same time. Like it's like logic, math, all these things, they exist outside of our minds.
Yes.
That is not atheistic. That is
Why not?
theistic. Because a mind outside of our minds, whose mind?
It's not necessarily a mind, but I don't think logic necessarily needs to necessarily have intelligent design.
Well, reality, including logic, does need to, like, things need a maker. There is nothing that does not have a cause.
This is more of like a theistic argument. So.
Yeah. And I'm saying the
for the
atheist
purpose of
is
saying-
kicking against that over and over and over and over again. And they can call what they're doing rational, but they just are of a particular personality or mindset that they want to do what the irrational person who's not thinking, but they want to do the same thing, but in a real sophisticated, sort of dressed up with all these words way. But at the end of the day, they're just making a faith decision that there's no God because they don't like it. They just don't have the balls to admit it. Or they have too much pride to admit it.
So, like, in my point of view, or in an atheist.
The atheist, so I'm saying an honest atheist who's extremely an intelligent person who can work these things out. I think there comes a point where you know that fundamentally what you're doing is you're denying reality.
Okay, so if we said
So you lie about it and you just write more and more pages or have more and more conversations. But at the end of the day, you're not doing anything except for the same thing that the guy who's like, well, my parents took me to Sunday school and the Sunday school teacher told me that I couldn't masturbate. I like to masturbate. So I just said, forget God.
okay,
Those guys are doing the same thing.
to me,
One's just doing it in a very sophisticated way and calling it smart. And the other guy is just being real.
I don't know if
I have zero respect for atheism, sorry. That's what I'm trying to express. Like, I just think it's foolish. There's no evidence for it.
so.
Evidence itself can't be granted as a thing.
You're just essentially. It seems like you're saying that nothing can exist without God, which is a theistic argument, and so like logic can't exist without God. So like, okay, nothing can exist without God. Is what
Well,
you're
it's
saying.
more like this way. Logic does exist.
Yes.
To even argue that logic doesn't exist requires logic. So therefore we know that logic exists.
Yeah.
Like logic just is. Okay, now we have a thing. Why is logic? Why is logic is? So we have some options here. There's this mind that made things, and logic and truth is rooted in him. And then he revealed himself as truth. Like Jesus, even though he's coming down to like what culture are you from? Like, do you know, are you just like an American mutt made up? Do you know where you're rooted, what culture you're rooted in? Just like, are you rooted in any kind of culture? Do you know?
I mean, I'm just American.
Just American? Like, I don't know either. I just don't want to say anything like that negative, but like, Jesus, right, when he comes down among us in like the ancient Near East, right? He's a carpenter's son. He's like living in middle of nowhere, small part of the planet. He's not coming down among philosophers. He's not coming down like in some kind of family, like surrounded by all this books and all this learning stuff. But when he says who he is, he says that he's the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. So it sounds like religious, right? But it's like he's claiming that truth thing that we all presuppose, he is that. He is the ground for your being. So that philosophers in other cultures that look at it, philosophers before him and after him, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the thing that they're saying, has to exist. This dude says he is that. He says that, like, he is the Logos. Like, he literally says, I am the Word that became flesh.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, that's like the thing that we're talking about is the thing that we know must exist. And if it doesn't exist, what's even going on? How are we even talking? And he's saying, I am that become flesh dwelling among you. So there's the issue for like the atheist, and I even think the agnostic, just a normal person, is this all makes extreme sense and is coherent. Why do people reject it?
No.
Simple reason, they love darkness, they love sin.
To me, it does not necessarily make sense. Because you've said logic must exist, because even trying to argue that, logically there wouldn't be it's logic. Logic has to exist. Okay.
Yep.
I understand. So, and then you say, okay, well, Jesus says he is that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's necessary to then say, since Jesus said that, that must be true for somebody.
Well, that's not why I was saying that he said that. I'm just saying that he did say that.
Okay.
So we know that for our very lives, whether we're philosophers or whether we're farmers, we presuppose a ground for our being, purpose, reality, function, all that kind of stuff. So there needs to be that. And so the question is okay, do we know that? Is that a person or is it not a person? Now, if we're really rigorous in our philosophical, like we're like, okay, well, you can't have something from nothing. What else do we have? What other quandaries do we have? Okay, can you ever get personal from impersonal? Well, philosophers will work this out over millennia, and we're like, no, actually, you can't go from non-personal to personal. So that says that person presupposes other persons. So then you're stuck with this thing. Well, wait, so you have an uncaused first cause, and they have to be personal. And so that's where you get to with just philosophy, just reasoning. And then Christ says, I am that which you have been seeking in all your philosophical whatever. And I also happen to be the way, the truth, the life, and the way you get to be reconciled with God. And people reject it, not because it doesn't make sense. People reject it because they like to reject it so they can live their lives as God.
So, saying that the first cause would be the argument against atheism, why it's illogical, that doesn't make sense to me, because replacing the first cause with a deity does not necessarily mean there's not any more first cause from nothing. Because then you could say, well, what caused the deity?
Yeah.
That's just replacing the first cause.
That's why it is a deity. So you're saying
cause.
deity. So you're saying deity. I'm saying like
God.
You're young. How you're under 20 or in your early 20s, right? You're young. So you're going to be studying this until you come to some kind of a conclusion, right? That is where philosophy, even non-Christian philosophy, leads. For us to have what we have, the ground for being is going to eventually be either an uncaused first cause, right? You need an uncaused. So like you have contingency and necessity. You're contingent. I'm contingent. Everything we see is contingent. So if we have contingency, Like none of us has to exist. What do you need if you have contingency? Necessity. Okay, so you need necessity. You need an uncaused first cause. Like something that you're saying doesn't have a cause but is the cause of other things.
Sure.
That is, for philosophers, even outside of Christianity, God. That's what they defined as God.
So, why is it...
Hey, thanks.
So
Sorry.
then why is it more logical to say something like the Big Bang or something like that would have been a first cause rather than a sentient God? You say that...
Because
it's
a Big
first
Bang
cause.
is a cause.
Sure, but
Yeah.
the...
Yeah, so that's why I say it's fundamentally a religious choice. Like you could say, all right, so
then it's
all
not-
philosophical wisdom leads you to the necessity of an uncaused first cause being God. That's where that's philosophically necessary. Nothing makes sense outside of that. But I particularly find this a little bit disdainful. I don't like this because this smacks of Christianity.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do instead of that is I'm going to posit that there was nothing, and then bang, there was everything else.
Okay.
And then you're going to pretend like that is more reasonable than this insanely consistent philosophical position that lines up with, and this is where it gets religious on this side, with a person who said that he was that, and then you have the question, okay, prove it. Then you get into the, well, what did this person do? Apparently he walks on water, heals the dead, does things that people like literally say they saw, heard, and are willing to die whenever they're put on trial and testify about it.
Yes.
So that's this side. This side over here is just like, I don't like that. So therefore I think there was it just happened.
No.
This is silly.
That's not how it happened. So, okay.
How'd it happen?
So there's a scientific point of view and a...
No, this is fundamentally not scientific. It's labeled scientific so people can feel good about themselves. This is fundamentally not scientific.
So
There's nothing.
why is it not scientific?
It's a myth. Like, listen, I'm not just saying it's a myth okay, there's nothing. You have nothing. You don't have anything.
Okay.
You got to come up with amino acids. Essentially, you got to come up with amino acids. You got nothing. You got to come up with how's that happen?
Why? So, like, are you asking me to come up with it, like, on the spot?
Anyone. Why does the Big Bang happen?
So,
Why did the Big Bang happen?
I don't exactly understand what you're getting.
Okay, so the Big Bang,
Like, amino
like-
acids can be explained. They're scientific.
what's your major?
Electrical engineering.
Okay,
Third year.
so the Big Bang is posited by it. So the Big Bang is not originally posited by people who are atheistic. They're not like, I'm an atheist, I need to have, that's not why they posit it. They don't come up with the Big Bang. What the Big Bang is it is a detection of expansion.
Sure.
So there's an expanding universe.
Yes.
So they detect what they believe is evidence of expansion, and expansion presupposes a starting point.
Yes.
And so they posit as the postulate to explain this expansion that they're detecting. The hypothesis or the theory is a Big Bang. The cause of the Big Bang for that guy and those guys was God. The reason the Big Bang was originally rejected was because it smacked of theism. You can go look this up. It's not how popular culture understands it today, but in the history of science, that's what happened. They posited the Big Bang. People had already become sort of atheistic and pop culture science view. So they said, we don't like that because it sounds like Genesis. God spoke and then there was things. That's not how it is. The atheistic view was the universe has always been. But that had problems because we know from fundamental constants and like laws of thermodynamics that doesn't make sense because things are breaking down and running, like all that kind of stuff. So you're like, no, I don't think the universe is eternal. So kind of needs a cause. And then this thing over here kind of needs a cause. So the whole thing kind of has a cause. Once this starts being thought about deeply, they go, you know what? Let's maybe fix it by having multiverses. So it's this never-ending attempt to fix what they're to save the appearances, to fix what you see, because the idea
Okay.
that the universe has a cause like your car is offensive to people, because your car maker wants you to drive it in a certain way, and the universe maker wants you to live in it in a certain way. And if that's offensive because you want to sin, you make up myths to replace that maker. That's what's going on, and that's why it needs to be disrespected.
Just like the Big Bang is actually observations that this happened, the same thing with the multiverse. I don't view these things as myth, because especially since the people who come up with these ideas, they have mathematical grounds for saying what they say. It's not
Well, I'm not saying there's not a multiverse, but what I'm saying, that's funny.
It is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny, but a guy hears a snippet of a thing, but he is like you and like me, living in a world trying to work out the fact that he knows there's a God, that God's revealed himself, and he's like, if I can laugh at this thing, it might help me psychologically on my way. That's what that was.
I personally
You can understand everything through this.
Okay, but you speak of like science and atheism based off of people's observations.
The only one who said anything scientific in this whole discussion is me.
So I don't think that's true.
So my worldview has science in it. Your worldview, if it is either atheism or agnosticism, either has science as a possible functional thing that we may use, but ultimately can't even be trusted.
Why can't it be trusted?
Because why is this? It doesn't. There's no rational mind. There's no ground for it. Uniformitarian processes can't be trusted.
What I'm saying fully is that I don't believe there would need to be an intelligent design for a first cause.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that's more logical than having
Why?
non-intelligent.
Okay, maybe I just ask you questions. Why? You tell me. You tell me, because you're basically falling into this trap. Speaking to you plainly. Fallen into this trap where you believe that saying something is an argument. Saying that you don't think that the argument for design is logical is not the same thing as making an argument that it's not logical.
So, okay.
What's the
so
argument?
What you had said was that theism was more logical, because how could we have something
Logic
from nothing?
included in
And
that.
so to start, you needed a God to cause it. But what I'm saying,
That was like
Is
one
that-
little piece of it, but sure.
okay.
Yeah.
So in that piece, what I'm saying as an argument, logically, you would also need something to cause the God, or the God would become the first thing that doesn't have a cause.
Yeah,
that
so
causes something
so
else.
God defined is uncaused. It's like the root basic definition
Then
in Western and Eastern philosophy is an uncaused being, a self-existent being. That is the definition of God.
so
Yeah.
then from that point of view, you could define God as anything you'd like, right? So you come up here and you could say God is, God can be defined.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and agree.
Human beings can lie. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I mean, well, what is it that you're saying? What's the argument?
right.
Say, like saying something is logical is different than making an argument about logic.
Sure.
Like I would say the laws of logic presuppose a mind.
If I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Big Bang would then replace your spot as God,
Why?
because you said that the first cause.
What caused
when
the Big
defined.
Bang?
So if they don't have a reason for the Big Bang to be caused, and they say it happened spontaneously
Okay.
without a cause,
So it's God.
That would replace
Yeah, it's God.
your definition would apply to that as God.
Yeah, so it's God. If everything comes into being by an uncaused cause,
Okay.
that's God.
Okay. So then why is that less logical then having a sentient.
No, I think there being a God is logical. I think there being a non-God is illogical. I think if you have the only way you can have no God is if you have nothing. Like if there's nothing, then yes, you have an argument for God. But you don't have anyone to argue for it. You just have nothing. Yeah, there's just no God. You don't know there's a God because you don't exist. Nothing exists. Right? But our problem is everything exists. Our laws of logic exist. Our reasoning exists. Our nature exists. Our right and wrong exist. All of it exists. And it all makes rational, coherent sense. But because we love our sin, we don't like that. So we posit this stuff that makes no sense, doesn't get us anywhere, but we think if we stamp it with the words logic or science, it's true. But you're not even saying anything. You're just saying, but what if not? That's what you're saying.
Yes, then it follows logically, and you wouldn't be able to make the claim.
What follows logically? What's the premise and what's the conclusion?
So look, we were saying that we have a chain, essentially a cause and effect chain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There must have been something that is the uncaused cause, the first one, okay?
Yes.
And you're saying it's God.
Yeah, that's the definition of God.
Uncaused cause.
Yeah.
And you're saying, okay, well, even if you don't have a sentient uncaused cause,
yes,
we can call that God as well.
No, the question is whether they're sentient. That's why I said way back in the day. I said that belief. I'm saying philosophy can get you to an uncaused first cause, a self-existent necessity that is personal. I think you can get there via reason, rationality. Where faith comes into it is that God has revealed himself. And that's the question there. And so you assess this. You can get to this by reason, rationality. God. Who is God? Does God reveal himself? Does God want you to do this or not that? That's going to be in the realm of faith. And that is something I do believe based on both reason and revelation, because I believe it has not only been revealed to me personally, I think it's been revealed to others, and others have testified to it. And so all this is coherent, makes sense, and it's all consistent.
So
you could just say, yeah, but logically, because of science, I don't believe that.
yes.
But that's not an argument. That's just someone saying they don't believe it.
So, but what I'm saying that in the context of is you saying that it's illogical. So you said that
Yes.
theism is illogical.
What's
and
that?
I said that it is logical based on
Atheism is
the
illogical.
structure that you gave.
You're just,
Does that make sense?
no.
So, okay.
You're just saying that it doesn't make sense.
No, I'm saying that it does. You were saying. So look, okay. You said that it wasn't logical, and I said that it is logical because you could have an uncaused cause that isn't sentient, and it would make just as much sense as having a God. Does that make sense? I don't understand what
I'm beginning to wonder. If we're listening to each other talk. So the reason I'm looking this up is just because I just wanted to see if later on, if you went and searched it, what it would say. Because the AI overlords, tell us what's true. So philosophically, God as the uncaused first cause is defined as the necessary, self-existent, and eternal ultimate principle or reality that initiates all causal chains in the universe. As a non-contingent being, this entity cannot not exist, providing the foundational ground for all existence and preventing an infinite regress. So that, I think, is solid.
That's so.
And that makes sense.
We need to get terms right, because that we can say that's God, but usually when people hear God, they're thinking of something very different. Okay, so we can call it the first cause, but usually when Christians would hear God, they're thinking of the Abrahamic God, and other people have different gods that they wouldn't. Does that? So we need to distinguish those two.
So I've done this a number of times. I'm saying that you in your mind, me in my mind, human minds, given what we know, given what we presuppose about reasoning, logic, reality, what we see, what we internally understand, and how we perceive it, those things alone reveal to us that there is a God. And to deny it is irrational. The religious or the faith type question is, okay, it is irrational. Like I say, I think it is ironclad, sound logic, undefeatable logic, what I said about atheism. I think atheism, to be an atheist, you have to be God. That's the only way. You got to have all knowledge in order to rule out the existence of God. So it is an irrational, self-refuting view. It's like a snake eating its tail. That's atheism. The question is this God that we know exists someone who has revealed themselves or someone who has not revealed themselves? Then we move from the irrationality of atheism to the question of agnosticism. And an agnostic can be given various faiths, various gospels of various gods, and hear them out. My belief, and I don't try to argue anyone into it, is I do believe God reveals himself to people. But I want you to know, as I know myself and as others know, that the real thing that's going on in a person's thought life and in their soul is that God is revealing himself to them, and they are rejecting him, not because of philosophy or reason, but because of preference and a desire to be their own gods and sin.
So,
I believe that.
there's multiple issues. So, first, there's an issue with definitions, okay? You've defined God as the uncaused cause, the first one, okay?
I haven't defined him as that way, but all philosophical thought does define him as that way.
Okay, but most people don't.
That's why I let AI do it,
Okay.
so it wasn't me.
So, but in this argument, most people wouldn't view God in this way. Most people, if you asked them on the street what the Christian Abrahamic God is, they would say he's all-powerful, he's omniscient, and he's a being. But defining it as an uncaused first cause that's two different definitions. So there's a definition.
Do you see how radically consistent these are?
So there's a definition that most people, if you just asked them on the street, would use.
Yeah.
And there's a definition that we're using for this argument.
Yeah.
So if somebody says they don't believe in God and that they're an atheist, you could use this definition and you could say, well, there must be an uncaused first cause. So that's irrational. But you're saying it about the Christian God. So you're saying that it's irrational. So you're using two different definitions. You're saying it's irrational to not believe in this. So there must be an omniscient, all-powerful God.
So as I've said a number of times, this is extremely rational to believe in and irrational to reject. The God. Over here, I always use this hand and this side, so separating them because you keep doing the same thing as if I'm not doing it. Over here is the question of, has this God revealed himself to us?
But
is he even a he? Is he Jesus, or is he Buddha, or is he, all that kind of stuff. Like that is the question of evangelism. That's the question of, does God reveal himself to us? Sure. I'm saying he does. Rejecting that can be done, right? I say it happens all the time because people love their sin. That's what the Bible says happens. Rejecting this cannot be done.
Sure, but
you're only pretending.
But using the same term for God is somewhat misleading.
No, okay, so to be an uncaused, self-existent, necessary being that's the ground for reality, all-powerful, omniscient.
Yes.
These are the same thing.
But they're not. So
Can you do this without being all powerful?
So, if the Big Bang weren't caused, it would fit this definition. And that's not omniscient, nor omnipotent, nor necessarily a being. So
But
they
no,
don't have to be the same thing.
You misunderstand the Big Bang. The Big Bang is not self-caused. No one thinks it's self-caused.
So, okay, what do they think caused it?
God.
The scientists?
Yes.
So, okay, you're kind of just arguing that God caused the Big Bang, and that I don't think that scientists are saying that God caused the Big Bang for sure.
I happened to push that little thing, and it wrote down what you were saying. I'm searching it. No, it's not giving me. It misunderstood your words. I was like, why is this about not science? Because it thought you said something else.
Need to take observations, and they need to essentially make concepts that we know to be true through repeated observation and theory, and then they build on it. That's how we know about the Big Bang. Okay?
No, we know about the Big Bang because we are detecting the expansion of the universe.
That is science.
Yeah. Are you for that or against that?
I mean, that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense.
What? So you're against it or for it?
For what? Like the Big Bang existing?
Science, following evidence where it leads, positing things, testing them.
For it, of course.
Okay, I couldn't tell.
Okay. So with these scientists, they look and they find the Big Bang. It's something that there's a lot of energy radiating outward. Okay.
Yeah. Are you talking like in history or like now? Because in history, it's George Lemaitre.
Okay.
He's a priest,
Okay.
and he believed that God was the cause of it.
So
After that, that was like he's the father of the Big Bang. I'm making sure that if you look this up, you'll find it. You're not just
Sure.
believing me,
Yes,
all right? They didn't think you could have a Big Bang without a causal agent.
so they were
That's
Christian.
a popular idea.
So
Some of them were non-Christian that believed this.
so
They just were theists.
okay. So you don't necessarily need to have a God to have had the Big Bang. If it's
Yeah.
observable. Does that make... Okay, so like, if we're doing science, and
Mhm.
I'm an atheist,
Yes.
okay? Let's say we're both atheists and we're doing science. We see
How
the
is
Big
it?
Bang happen. Then we try and look and see, okay, we have new questions. What caused it? None of the foundations, all these laws, all of the foundations of science, none of that can necessarily just support a God. Unless it's posed as maybe a potential explanation.
Yeah, so again, without a ground for logic, reason, rationality, you're just assuming and presupposing logic and using it. I don't think that most people arguing your position care about any of this. I think it's all just sophistry. You know the word sophistry?
No.
It's like, so Socrates came on the scene and he was reasoning with people about, things like there's only one God,
Okay.
like whatever he said, the pantheon of gods are all made up. There's just like one God and he's an uncaused first cause and that sort of stuff, like Socrates. But he always was arguing people on like college campuses at that time, like in Athens, like the young people. That's why he got killed, because he was corrupting the youth. He'd go and argue with them. But he'd run into other people that were philosophers that would argue with him, and they were called sophists because they made sophisticated arguments. They were designed to sound smart, but all they were was covering up rejection of truth.
So, but you can address what I'm saying without just saying that I'm essentially trying to sound smart.
Well, but you haven't made any arguments. You just posited things.
Well, let me...
So like
let me
if you were going to do something like you're making sort of statements that can be tried historically, where you're saying like, you're saying something about the Big Bang that's just fundamentally not true. And if I said, okay, this may be like simple enough for us to like do this, and I could just go, all right, so what was it? Sir Fred Hoyle, atheist astronomer who coined the term Big Bang. Like, he's the one who did it, right? Now, he despairingly rejected the theory at first because it implied a creation event, arguing it was cosmic chutzpah of the worst kind. And he preferred a steady state model, right? Like that it's just, the world's just always been here. Now, so the thing is the reason I would bring that up is because this is an actual thing that happens in reality. Fred Hoyle, an atheist astronomer who hears about Lemaitre's idea of explaining the expanding universe with a Big Bang, he rejects it. The reason he rejects it is because it sounds like Genesis. It sounds like creation. Because all these people are too smart to think that something like a Big Bang is anything but saying God spoke things into existence or something like that.
This is an argument based off of the history, and this is an argument based off of other people's opinions.
Yes.
My opinion is based off of what I was talking about. My opinion is based on, these are two different definitions of God, and so it's illogical to say that they're the same thing.
What? Okay, so you're saying it again. You're saying it's illogical, but you're not saying why it's illogical.
So why it's illogical.
And I'm not even saying it's the same thing. What I'm saying is that they're consistent. I'm saying that you have an uncaused, first cause, necessary personal being that you can get to via philosophy.
That makes sense. This makes sense too.
And over here, you have the revelation of a all-powerful, omniscient being who claims to be eternal and to have caused all things and to be the logic and reason and ground for all being, who says he stepped down among us because we were sinners in need of saving from our destruction and judgment. These two things can both be understood and asked, are they consistent? If someone says, well, but I'm going to stamp not logical, they're not making an argument. They're just making a statement.
Yeah.
What's the argument?
We say that atheism is illogical, but we apply this definition of God. We also talk about this definition over here. We're using two different definitions. So
okay, fine.
You say that atheism is illogical because there must be an uncaused first cause. This is a different definition of God than these atheists would consider to be a God. If you asked an atheist...
Okay, I'm following you. So these guys are rejecting this God, but they're not rejecting this one.
So...
Because I think that they're rejecting this one because they know this one is who this one said he was.
Absolutely not. I believe that these atheists would...
That's why I brought up Fred Hoyle. That's why he rejected this one.
So I believe...
Because he thought it was this one.
Okay, so I believe...
Sounded too much like that one.
Okay, so I believe that these atheists would look at this definition of God. They'd look at the uncaused first cause, and they'd say, that could be the case, but I wouldn't call it a God. They would look at the omniscient, omnipotent God of the Bible, and they would say, I don't believe this exists.
Have you read any books by atheists?
Why is this pertinent?
Because they precisely do that. They reject this one so they can reject this one.
If we grabbed an atheist off the street,
yes,
do you think they would figure this God didn't exist?
They argue...
That's the God that they would be looking at.
Yeah, 100% of the time. They argue that one doesn't exist.
Personally, that's not what I think most atheists would say. I think they would say the God of the Christian Bible is supposed to be omniscient, omnipotent being.
Eternal.
That they reject that.
The main attribute is eternal as well.
Sure, okay.
Yeah. He says, I am. He's eternal. He just is. So in Christianity, in the Old Testament, the New Testament, God reveals himself as an I am. He says he is. I am a necessary being.
We just ask somebody what their definition of God is. And we could see...
We could put all this down on someone's arbitrary definition.
I mean, we could ask a couple people, or we could we could just ask people what they think about God.
We could, but I would worry that we would be doing sophistry.
No, I don't think most people would say it's an uncaused first cause. Even anybody listening to this, they would argue.
Well, I know, but there's no point to even this argument. Like,
there is.
You're trying to argue something that I don't even care about, because it sidesteps what I do care about.
So you said that atheism is illogical.
Yes.
I'm responding to that.
Atheism is illogical because it denies this.
But most atheists would actually be denying something else entirely.
Yeah.
They're gonna fucking.
Yeah. So,
Makes sense?
so you don't think that they deny? Sorry.
Hey, go to class, bro. You've been out here an hour, man.
This is class. It's just he's not listening. Like the atheist rejects this philosophical thing because he knows this philosophical thing is who God reveals himself to be. That's why it says the Word became flesh and dwelt among him. He says, I am the Word. The Logos is this. And yes, all popular atheists, Richard Dawkins, Sam Dennett, all those guys, Dan Dennett, like they reject this.
So rejecting an atheist who rejects the God of the Bible, saying that he is the uncaused first cause,
Hi.
that would be reasonable. It'd be rational. It wouldn't be illogical.
An atheist who says there is no God, whatever he means, he's being an idiot. Is that clear?
Based off of
'Cause-
logic, I
because-
don't think so. Based off of what I
No, because he's saying something that he cannot prove. He's being an idiot. An atheist needs to be God to say there's no God, because he has to have all knowledge. Like, can you say there are no, I don't know, like, I don't know what a good example is.
So-
To say that there is no God requires you to have all knowledge.
But that goes back to the argument about me making up a cult figure, right? So you could say that there's a God who wants to remain hidden, and you wouldn't necessarily need to accept that. Does that make sense? That's absolutely logical to not accept that. Right?
What? Like, what do you say?
If you're not, it's fine
No.
if you don't want to listen.
No, I'm saying you're repeating yourself
The
and you're
argument
making
is
statements.
absolutely valid.
But it's not.
argument is
But it's.
absolutely-
But is it even an argument that I'm making, or you're? What's the point of the argument?
The argument is that
smoking a blunt.
atheism,
That's a pencil for people who are smart.
the argument of atheism.
Yeah, like your argument you're making about they're rejecting this religious. I'm just saying, like, well, actually,
So-
they reject this because they are scared of this, and you're just not hearing it.
What I'm saying.
What's
is
the
a
argument you're
response-
making?
What I'm saying is a response to what you said earlier. You said that it was illogical to be atheist,
Yep,
and I have
because of this.
very certainly that it absolutely
How's it going?
isn't. And that you're using two different definitions for
Christ
God.
is king.
That's right. Well, I'm not arguing what you're saying I'm arguing. And if you keep telling me that I'm arguing something I'm not arguing, it does seem like sophistry.
Well,
The atheist is irrational because he's rejecting this. I'm not saying he's rejecting this.
we could. Hey, what's your definition of God? Like the God of the Bible. What
Oh,
do you think?
you just presupposed it. You did it. You are a
Okay,
sophist.
ask him.
You just, okay, so philosophically speaking about the existence of God, what is God?
See, I'm not a good Catholic, so I would like. He's just some
Don't think about it in a religious sense. Think about it in like a philosophical
higher
sense.
being that just exists.
That just exists.
What's he?
So you're wrong.
He's an observer, an omnipotent.
Omnipotent. So you're wrong. See,
No, an omnipotent observer that just exists. You're not even.
Let's ask some
Let
more
me
people.
tell you, you are in a trap, my friend.
let's ask some more people.
It doesn't matter what
He's just
anyone.
proving my point. But we can ask some.
No,
other
no, no.
people.
He has it. The first
That's a
thing.
good answer.
Listen.
Good luck,
The way
Dante.
the way you know you're a sophist, and that reason doesn't matter to you, that you just want to be a certain thing. The way you know that is the moment you asked and you decided, oh, I better presuppose him to go biblical.
You asked
And-
in your way, and he answered in my way.
Right. No,
Right.
no, he didn't.
Absolutely.
No, he
And we
didn't.
can-
He actually says
Ask some more.
just he
In your way.
exists.
We can do this.
No,
We
dude,
can go
because
and ask some more
no,
people.
because like Socrates, eventually with the sophist, you have to stop talking to them because they are in a project of deluding themselves.
So look,
At
we
the end
can
of the
ask-
day,
we can ask
it's-
anybody who's walking up. They're not going to have this weird philosophical definition of God.
and they don't need
They're
to.
going to say the God of the Bible.
They don't need to. It's not my argument that they will.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah. Sad.
The argument is contingent on that.
No.
It is.
What?
Because you're saying that atheists reject this God and
No.
they actually do this God.
My argument isn't
It's a straw
contingent
man
on
argument.
Hey, listen. My argument isn't contingent on any definition, except for the atheist definition. Atheist, no God.
Sure.
That.
No
Listen.
God, not no God.
Yeah. Right. No God.
No.
The
they-
atheist denies this.
The atheist may not deny this. They may think. Okay, we can ask. That's why we're
You
asking.
think that an atheist doesn't deny
Yep,
an
we can ask.
uncaused first cause?
Absolutely. Let's ask them. They can come up. We can ask them.
That's how we're going to decide it. For
We
you.
can ask many people.
New Mexico.
What? Who is your favorite sophist?
It's like further
Sure.
from
Why are we
Kansas,
asking?
but the
We can
Kansas
ask
is
them.
Because you think that you can get at knowledge by asking individual people random questions. Don't
We
even
can ask
matter.
A lot of them. I don't think many at all. Are
I
gonna say,
I think
any say that.
I
at all.
think you make a practice.
I love your videos.
Thanks, man. I think you make a practice of saying many words and pretending to be intelligent and
You're attacking
reasonable.
character, not my argument.
No, I'm telling you what I think
Go ahead.
after assessing you. I think that you do this on a regular basis and talk to people. It's where you gain meaning and fulfillment. It's fun. It's your hobby. Whatever it is, it's good. It's fine. I'm not saying that's bad.
Something like that.
But you are unaware of the fact that what you believe is not something you've arrived at because of reason and argument, but something that you're choosing via preference. And that you make many arguments that aren't even arguments, but you call them arguments, and then you string together various words, label them scientific, and there's no point to any of it, except for it makes you think you're doing well. I don't think you're doing well.
You could argue with me about my argument, or you could attack my character.
Then
You
that,
think my argument's wrong? Why do you think it's wrong?
I don't even think you've made an argument, not one that matters.
Well, I can make it again. There's cameras and there's a mic.
Mhm.
All right? So my argument is you're saying that God is this thing over here. God is the uncaused first cause.
Mhm.
But I don't think that most atheists would say that that doesn't exist.
Okay.
I think most atheists would say the God of the Bible doesn't exist.
That's all
that there
atheists are
could-
saying?
But that there could still be.
All right,
an
so you've said
uncaused
enough
first
on it.
cause.
You've said enough on it. We've got it on record. You're saying that atheists aren't rejecting the existence of God in the sense of an uncaused, first cause, self-existent being who's the ground for reality. That's not what atheists are rejecting. That's
necessarily.
Atheists believe in that possibly.
They could.
What atheists are rejecting is Jesus.
The God of the Bible.
That's all.
Or gods in
All right, man. Well, I've asked an
God of
atheist.
the Bible or God of like
Look,
Hinduism.
I've asked an atheist, and this atheist tells me God exists, just not the God of the Bible. Interesting definition of atheism. Good job.
One atheist.
Yes, just one. Just you.
Okay.
Although I
We
don't
can
think you're
ask
an
a lot.
atheist.
That can prove it. Why haven't we asked multiple people?
All right, go and do that. Come back to me and report your findings. Or
No, I'm good, man.
or-
I don't think
or
I don't
email
think-
them to me,
I don't think
'cause it
you're
doesn't
open
matter.
minds to actually have logical discussion.
oh, I do.
I think
All these people that walk by
Yeah.
and they're like, "Thanks for watching your channel," which you'll be on that channel as well.
absolutely.
So,
I hope you post the full thing.
you want me to post a full thing?
I do.
Yeah, we'll drive everybody crazy. But so the reason they do that is because they like to see reasonable, logical debate and discussion. The problem is, and I'm just telling you this out of kindness, you may think it's mean or whatever,
I
but
don't.
you are a sophist. And the quicker
I
you
think you're
learn
making
that,
a personal. Logos, pathos, ethos.
It's
I
not
think you're making an
my-
attack on character. and
not my
argument.
belief that you're a sophist is rooted in everything you've said.
We've ran from the logic, and now we're going for character.
What is your logical argument?
I've said it multiple times.
No.
You're using two
Look,
different definitions
listen,
of God.
and then we're gonna be done.
strawmanning Atheists.
No. Atheists deny the existence of God in a philosophical sense.
Hey, look,
They do.
I could shake your hand.
But you're worried
want
about COVID or something?
to. No. I'm actually very sick. I've been taking
Yeah.
Ricola the whole time and had a mask.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
I've
But-
enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah.
I don't think your argument is logical, and I think I've.
Well, I would, but you argued against something that I wasn't even arguing.
You said that atheism
Never
is illogical because of this other definition of
Yes.
God, which you strawmanned on most
Yeah.
atheists.
Yeah, because I do believe that an atheist is claiming there is no God. And when he says there's no God, he's saying, no, an agnostic says, I don't know if there is or isn't a God, and I don't know if the God of the Bible is or isn't true. I don't think it right now, but I'm open to the possibility or something like that. Or this God or that God or that God. That's an agnostic. It's a rational position. Atheism is irrational because they reject this.
If an
The
atheist-
statement, there is no God,
So
is a rejection of this.
You're saying that an atheist.
Or this is not the God is a rejection of Christianity. And that's not an atheist, that's a non-Christian. This is so basic, it's like
Absolutely, it's basic. So an
my,
atheist.
third grader, first grader, kindergartner gets this.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have a predisposition to try to sidestep hearing about things by talking about all this nonsense. An atheist rejects the existence of God definitionally. Definitionally.
So, definitionally,
Atheism. No God.
most atheists wouldn't classify themselves as atheists if they knew this definition.
Everybody else is having meaningful conversations and I'm jealous. So the are there any atheists who are atheists but also accept the idea of God in the philosophical sense that he is a first caused, uncaused, necessary being?
Yes. Some atheists accept the philosophical necessity of a first uncaused,
Yeah, so this is
necessary
you.
foundation of reality.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to trust AI overview, but
No,
we can look at the sources.
we can. It's fine.
Absolutely.
Because this is basically, so they lack belief in it. Okay, so you're saying that these are.
So I'm right. This
so
is saying that
atheists-
I'm right.
Atheists who believe in theism.
No, this is saying absolutely that
so
I'm right.
reject. No,
You looked it up and you were wrong.
No, I'm tracking with you. I'm fine with that. But like, look, so rejecting the leap to deism, and they're saying atheists often object that labeling the first cause God is a special pleading or a God of the gaps argument. Instead, they might propose that the infinite or the universe is an infinite causal chain.
They might.
So
yeah.
So that's what I'm talking, like, so you can have, and so if someone like me says, well, that's God, they would say like, well, no, I just don't call that God. So this is a linguistic position.
But
you're
they
saying, you're saying that your whole argument is, like, well, anyway, here's the fun thing about AI. Have you ever done this? No. There are no atheists who, hold on, I can't get to that. Also, being a cause of the universe to exist or something like that.
like you're saying, if you phrased it in a certain way, you think the AI would like try and essentially agree with you.
Yeah, you never done that? It's because the way I put it was like, are there any of this? Or that there are? Ah, crap, I don't know what I just deleted there. So atheists typically do not accept a being that caused the universe because atheism is generally defined as the absence of belief in any gods.
Yes, however, the philosophical landscape that includes nuanced positions where an individual might accept the first cause or intelligent designer while still being considered an atheist.
Not views as personal worship or supernatural God, which is kind of like what you're saying. So what is the point of that argument?
Basically, atheism
Like,
can still be a logical position. Is all like that's all.
No, I'm saying it's not a logical position.
Yes, I understand, but you're using a definition of
No,
God.
you're saying linguistically it's a position.
What are you talking about? No, I'm saying that logically.
You're saying this is your position. That there are atheists out there who call themselves atheists, that we could grab someone walking by
Yeah.
that is an atheist, that calls themselves an atheist,
Yeah.
who accepts the idea that there's a God in the sense of a cause of the universe.
Yep.
So your
They
argument's a
wouldn't-
linguistic.
They probably wouldn't call it a god, but they probably would call it like a first cause. So
Yeah, okay,
Most
so-
people don't call that god.
So I don't know if this is going to be helpful for you or not. I don't care about that. Like, my argument isn't that there are people out there who call themselves atheists who also believe there's an intelligent designer or something like that.
So,
Like, that doesn't matter to me. I'm saying
Right.
when I say that the
But-
atheist who says there is no
This guy trans and lesbians, you've been programmed. You're gonna feel that later.
hey, bro, I don't know what that was either.
No, that's the height of his intelligence. That's what that was. So the thing. See, back when I thought we were like going somewhere, I thought that saying something like atheism is irrational because it self-refutes. So non-theism, like there's no God. To say there is no God requires that you have all knowledge, because you have to know everything to know there is not something. Like, I can't say there's no
Yeah, but
bugaboo,
right. So
jagugaboo, whatever that is.
then you couldn't
I have
say
to
that-
have all knowledge to say that that doesn't exist.
you couldn't say that the god I made up earlier isn't also true.
Okay, so
Or
let's
else
just
you'd
stay.
have to have all knowledge. So that's what I was saying with that. Is they can logically say, hey,
Oh,
there's
you
other-
are a sophist. Okay,
hey, look.
you are a sophist.
I've given multiple like logical arguments that
No.
you tried to look up and disprove.
No,
and you proved yourself.
No, all you did is you revealed to me that it's a linguistic thing. Like you are arguing a linguistic, like you are arguing a definitional thing. You're saying, at the end of all this, you're saying that there are atheists out there who believe in a uncaused, first cause, self-existent God, and they call themselves atheists.
Yes, so that means.
Well, I don't care.
So that means.
I'm
that-
saying that that's not even, so the argument that I made that you said, oh, here, I got something here. Let's just ignore everything else we were talking about. Because we were talking, there was like fruitful stuff about like, you know, pro-lifers and the way they use religion and not use religion and all that kind of stuff we were talking about, and like when life is valuable. We were on this profitable thing. And then I said this statement, kind of like a thing, like to be an atheist is irrational because you have to have all knowledge to say there isn't something. Like, I can't say there isn't a God unless I have all knowledge that there isn't. And that's like a basic thing. But when you heard that,
So-
you said, this whole thing, you said in your mind, oh, but if I can kind of like not listen to that or the reason he's saying that and run off into like, there could be people out there who define themselves as atheists. It's like, what does it even matter?
It matters because you're framing your argument around it. And if you disprove.
Okay, repeat back to me the argument I made about why atheism is irrational. Why the statement there is no God is irrational.
Because logically, there's got to be some first cause. Correct?
No, the statement I made
Okay, go ahead.
is,
Explain it to me.
okay, here's
can go back through it.
here's premise one. Here's statement one. The statement, this is the claim. The statement, there is no God, is irrational and self-refuting. Why? To make a claim about what does not exist with certainty requires that you know everything that exists or doesn't exist.
Okay.
Next premise. You do not know everything that exists or does not exist. To know that, you would have to be godlike in your understanding. You have to be omniscient, all-knowing. If you are all-knowing, you are God. Therefore, following from these premises, atheism is an irrational self-refuting position. Because in the argument for there is no God, you ended up having to be God.
Yeah, for those premises, that makes sense. Those aren't the premises that you used before, because your earlier premises.
Those are the
you can put
premises
your
that
head
I've
down if
used.
you want.
Those are the premises I've used when I've made this argument all the way back when I was like 22.
I've repeated it multiple times. You said that God is defined in a certain way.
So you're going to argue about something else. So
We've had this discussion.
you're going to go shift to some kind of thing about somebody somewhere that can say something. That's all you're doing.
You've basically lost that argument, and you said, well,
Which argument? Which argument did I lose?
the premise before.
The statement "there is no God"
Yeah.
is an irrational, self-refuting statement.
So sorry.
You're good.
Thank you.
So before, you had made it essentially crucial to your argument that the definition of God,
Crucial to my argument.
that the definition of God was the uncaused first cause.
No, dude.
And that atheists didn't accept that, and it was
I
illogical.
said in the midst of just talking to you that atheism was illogical and self-refuting.
I disagree with that.
And then your argument against that was to say, okay, so I made an argument. I just told you the premises and how they follow to a conclusion just a second ago. We were right here in this same spot. But your argument against that is to say there was this time where you had said this other thing about how there are atheists out there who reject the God of the Bible, or like a popular thing.
But not the definition you gave, yes.
Okay, so that thing that you just said again is your thing. How does it reject? You had a wasp that just landed on your head, but he flew away.
Oh, okay.
How does your argument about how there are people who label themselves atheists who also believe in God as an uncaused first cause, how does that argument answer my argument?
Well,
My argument is it's irrational to say there is no God.
well, that's different from being atheist. It's different from saying it's irrational.
All right, will it help you if I say that's all I'm saying? That it's irrational and self-refuting to say there is no God?
It would help your audience if that's what you said, because the way you frame it
Atheism is
disingenuous.
Atheism is the claim that there is no God. The fool says in his heart there is no God. Why is he a fool? Because he's an irrational, self-refuting nonsense machine.
So to be
Doesn't
very
matter what
clear-
someone somewhere else
to be
calls
very
themselves.
clear, you think it would be very rational to
Are you trying to cut me off?
Well, I was
At-
gonna say there's a bit of a conversation.
At some point in time, there's actually a conversation going on?
With Rachel, if you want to go talk
Okay.
to her.
Yeah. Because you just don't understand that the thing that you're saying,
I do.
no, you don't. Because the thing that you're saying doesn't even connect with what I'm saying. I'm saying to be an atheist requires that you have all knowledge. To say there is no God, yeah, it's all right, please, it's good. To claim that you know there is no God, even this Christian God, requires that you have all knowledge.
Sure. If we say that it's different from what you were saying earlier,
Did you just did?
Huh?
What did you just do right there? I just want to make sure I know what you just did there.
okay, so look. You can
So
say
to
that.
say, so okay, so Jesus is God.
So
The atheist says, I know Jesus isn't
if you
God.
let me finish what I'm saying, it would probably make a whole lot more sense. Okay? So earlier
But you've been saying it over and over and over again.
So earlier I said we could say that there's some cult-like being and he hides himself.
Mhm.
And I could say, hey, I know that he's true, but he doesn't reveal himself to others and he is the God. And then you wouldn't be able to say logically that he didn't exist because you don't know all things. Right? Right. Yes. Maybe.
Are you arguing for my position or your position?
I mean, I'm asking you the question. Like, do you think that you would be able to say that that being, that God didn't exist?
Yeah, the cult being or whatever?
Yeah. Logically?
No.
You don't think, so you
Exist?
think that could exist?
Sure.
Okay. So,
I don't think it exists, but sure, logically I can't say you can't. What's the deal?
so
I'm not God.
Free abortions to everybody.
Interesting argument. Well put.
So,
How many of them have you had?
35. It's amazing.
No, like realistically, how many women have you knocked up and encouraged them to get abortions? Because you're acting like that's your view.
okay, so look.
I know.
So look.
It's because he wanted to say something on the drive-by.
So,
Guilt, shame.
okay. So, that is like, it's logical in the sense that it's like, yeah, you can't technically say that it doesn't exist. But would you really believe that? In
No.
that cult being?
No, I don't believe in that cold being.
In the same way, atheists.
See, this is why this is sophistry. None of this matters. You're just wasting your time.
So you could explain to me.
So my argument had premises. It was like a statement that was backed up by an argument. And you could follow the premises to see that they were both valid and sound. To refute that, you said, I'm not going to deal with any of the premises or the structure of those premises and how they go together and make I'm not going to argue against the validity or the soundness of the argument. Instead, I'm going to talk about this other stuff that nobody's talking about. That is not a motive judgment or a personal judgment. You're a sophist. The thing is, you talk to lots of people. And when a sophist talks to lots of people, it gives the impression to themselves, and they begin to think they are a rational, reasonable, philosophical person that's probably above the other peers. That's what the sophist thought. But I'm saying, if you're going to argue against what I'm saying, the only method that you have that is anywhere near reasonable is to argue against either of the premises or arguing against the structure. You had not even attempted to.
When I argued against the premises.
What premise did you argue
changed
against?
The structure. You changed it. Before,
No,
what it meant to be an atheist, it's changed.
there is no God.
There's no God of the Bible.
Either. There's no God of the Bible and there's no God.
Most atheists.
That doesn't mean
We're
that
going
you
in
can't.
circles. We looked
That
this
doesn't
up.
mean. No. All that said, and it's unfortunate because all it said was something that like you read and you can't understand. All it said is there are some atheists who wouldn't deny like an uncaused thing. And then it went on to say like the same steady state stuff that I was telling you about like Fred Hoyle and stuff. And so I'm like, we're getting it. And I'm like, oh man, this guy is gonna see this and think that, because he's not really, it's like a pseudo-intelligence thing. So I was like,
You can attack my character, but
No.
you haven't attacked the actual argument. The basis of the argument is
I don't
the
e-
structure
you're-
that you used is full. It's
The
a
structure
straw man
I-
argument.
the
straw man.
structure that I used
Yep.
is a person cannot claim that there is no God unless they're a God.
That's a new argument. But I mean,
All right.
it's been nice talking.
It's the
to you.
same.
Don't pat me.
It's the same argument, man. Sorry, I've been entirely waylaid with endless repetitious cycle.